I'm meeting with her on a regular basis, helping her overcome fears. The sales can be scary because how are they going to react? Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It felt like real life. It was a dream, but it felt almost like real life. And in the dream, he's encouraging me, and I'd had a series of dreams at the time. And anyway, basically it was like, the Lord's been sending me to you to give you these messages. And then he gave me a pretty firm correction. And he told me the main focus and the thing that I want our company to be about is really being, having other people's best interest in mind all the time.
Welcome to the Marketplace Kings podcast, where we're exploring everything that has to do with faith in the marketplace. Our desire is to cultivate value atmospheres that empower businesses, organizations, professionals, and nations by applying timeless principles. We envision a world where kingdom-minded leaders dominate their spheres of influence, not through control, but through creativity, innovation, service, and spiritual authority. Subscribe to the podcast and you can be a part of the culture of breakthrough, one where faith fuels enterprise, where your dominion is activated first in the prayer room before the boardroom, and lastly, where your leadership will be defined by value creation and problem solving. I'm super excited today with my guest I have on here, my friend Jerry Williams. He's the owner of NuWave Lending, which has a promise to dedicate fast, transparent digital mortgages backed by superior customer support. They offer everything from bank statement loans, conventional loans, FHA loans, investment loans, refi loans, and VA loans. His office is based out of Grapevine, Texas. But Jerry, I noticed you have locations in Lower Greenville, Lantana, and also Colorado. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's been good. We've had some growth here in the last couple of years, so it's been good.
That's awesome. I could tell your business is growing, and I want to explore more about how you've positioned yourself to grow and what you consider your recipe as success. So we'll get into that here in a little bit, but today we're going to be learning from his practical experience as a business owner and how you as a listener can incorporate a kingdom first focus. So let's just start by, how did you get into the mortgage business?
Well, I got into the mortgage business back in about 2004. I had actually been overseas working with some friends that were putting a community center in northern Iraq in Kurdistan. After I finished that, I was probably I guess I was 23, maybe 24 years old at that point. I guess I was 24. Anyway, I was on a plane back to the States after being there for a little while. And I was dead broke and needed a for real job. And so I moved back to Dallas, and Countrywide was actually hiring at the time. And I had a friend that worked there. So I went and interviewed there. And then I also had some family friends in the mortgage business. And I got an offer at both places and ended up going to work for the smaller company and started, I guess I was about 24 years old. So I've been in it for a long time now. I'm almost 46.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you learned basically the nuts and bolts. And then when did you kind of jump off and start NuWave?
Yeah, I started. Yeah. So when I started at that company, I was basically like the front desk coffee maker, loan processor. I kind of learned from the ground up. And then in probably about 2012, I started building some software for the industry, and just kind of had a vision for a different approach. There's not a lot of good technology back then. And so I built kind of like a point of sale system for myself. And that ended up being adopted by it kind of grew organically. I had about 400 users at one point. But I was really primarily just focused on the mortgage business. And so in 2018, I went out on my own and was kind of exploring whether I was going to grow that software business or just stick in the mortgage business. And honestly, I didn't know a lot about software, the software business. It's a totally different animal. And so, anyway, so I started the mortgage business in 2018, and yeah, it's been a really good experience. So,
So you self-taught in the software business, in coding
yeah.
and writing. How
Well,
did
no,
you
I
get
hired a guy
involved in that?
yeah, I hired a guy to do that for me, but I definitely learned a lot about what not to do, and got snowballed by some folks and lost a lot of money, and because I really didn't know how to read code, and
Mm-hmm.
so I had some pretty negative experiences as I went through that process. But I was kind of bound and determined to get it done, and did, and it actually was a really good tool. So the stuff that I built really kind of helped differentiate me, and so I went from kind of low guy at the totem pole to one of the top producers at the company I was at, because I had some really cool things I had put together that people hadn't seen before. So
Okay, so you're using your software to help your business at
yeah,
Countrywide and
yeah.
to set yourself apart.
Yeah, so that was yeah. So I went from being kind of at the front desk at that company to being a loan officer. And once I was kind of in that place of loan officer, I'm out meeting with agents and trying to get people to send me business. And so when I built that software in 2000, I think it was 2011 or 12, I can't remember right off the top of my head, but that it was kind of unique. And so I had a lot of cool tools and things that would catch an agent's attention that buyers really liked. And so it helped me grow my business a lot.
That's cool. So right
And so
now,
the
20.
small company I actually worked for ended up adopting it. They all started using it. And then I started getting calls from around the country from other loan officers that were hearing about it. And so it grew organically, but honestly, I really kind of messed up with the software. I could have done a better job probably growing that business as well, but I didn't know what I was doing. Got to learn.
Yeah, I mean, and having a software a coder that's worth their salt is few and far.
Good one. I definitely had a good one, but one of the things I learned in that is, I think in that world, one of the things I had a hard time wrapping my mind around was, in the software world, it was like lose money, acquire clients, and scale as fast as you can. And I was trying to make something that made a profit, which was really not the way that business works at all. So
Mm.
anyway, kind of missed an opportunity there, but I sure learned a lot in that process for sure. So
Yeah, maybe we can jump into that later. So right now, you 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 started NuWave 2018. Now we're in 2025. That's not that long ago.
yeah, it's
That
not.
you
Yeah.
started this business. So how many employees do you have now? How does NuWave look like?
Yeah, so I really didn't start growing until a couple years ago. So from like 2018 till around 2020, it was just kind of me. I was like I said, I was kind of toying with the software stuff, and eventually just kind of picked a stick with the mortgage industry and not try to pursue a software company. But it was really just me and a couple other people on my team. I was doing about between 50 and $75 million worth of loans a year by myself, and I had a small team, and so we would fund those loans and sell them, and then in probably in about 2022 is when the company really started growing quite a bit. It was
All
in
right.
2022. So we went from like, 3 or 4 employees to we're at, I think, almost 40 now, 38 to 40 employees since 2022.
Now, running a business that's from 3 to 4 to 40, that's a completely different business.
Yeah.
As far as to manage,
Yeah, for sure.
what's the secret to success to just to scale from that 3 to 4 to 40?
Yeah. I mean,
You have to
honestly, man,
hire even good
it's
support
been kind of a
people.
wild ride. So I've definitely learned kind of as I've gone. I think one of the keys for us has just been hiring the right people and really finding the right fit to maintain the culture. So even though we've grown quite a bit, I feel like the culture has really gotten better with the growth. And so I think that's had a lot to do with our success, is just the people that are here.
Hmm.
Um, and so but yeah, it's been a lot of growth in kind of a period of time. And it's been really fun to watch. And I don't know how much credit I can take. I actually moved to Pagosa Springs from Dallas in 2021. And so the company actually grew more once I left Dallas, and most of the employees are in DFW area. And so it's been kind of funny. I got out of town, and the company started doing a lot better.
So why do you think that you started to grow exponentially like that? What do you attribute to that growth?
Well, it's kind of interesting. This is um, I had since this is a spiritual podcast, we're talking about the Lord and the kingdom. I
Uh-huh.
actually had a dream in 20, I think it would have been 2021. I had a dream, and in the dream, there was like a mentor that I had in my business that he'd actually passed away, but um, yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was like it felt like real life. It was a dream, but it felt almost like real life. And in the dream, he was encouraging me, and I'd had a series of dreams at the time. And anyway, basically, it was like, the Lord's been sending me to you to give you these messages, and then He gave me a pretty firm correction, and He told me to quit striving in my work. And He said, He said, Jesus is going to grow your company, and it's going to come to you. And so after I had that dream, honestly, it was like people started calling me to come work here. So I haven't really had like some recruiting push. There's only one guy that I've actually ever really called since 2021 to come work here. It's been really amazing. I've lived here in Pagosa, and the company's really grown since the time I had that dream. So it's pretty cool to watch that happen.
I think that's a great segue. We met through a mutual friend, and even in that first meeting, that first connection, just in talking to you, felt like there's a deep relationship you had with Jesus and active listening to the Holy Spirit. And we got to talking about business and just I loved hearing how you listen to the Holy Spirit for your business. And to me, there's a difference between just being a Christian in business and actually truly submitting your business to the Holy Spirit and to the leading of the Lord. So, um, when you said striving, what does that mean? What does that look like? What?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, that's been something God's had to work on me in a lot of facets. I would say a lot of the breakthrough that I had in my relationship with the Lord early in my early to mid 20s was just around really trusting Him. And, I tried to earn God's approval a lot in my early part of my walk. And the Lord really set me free from that, just kind of that striving, religious, trying to earn approval versus just the free gift that God gives us in relationship with Him through Jesus. And so, I just had a lot of burdens lifted off of me in my early 20s, just in my relationship with the Lord and faith in general. But I still felt like in work, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's easy for me to trust the Lord with a lot of things in my life, but my work, I don't know that I really had surrendered that part. And so I carried, I think, I carried a lot of the burden myself instead of really trusting God with my provision and work. And so, when I had that dream and I got that kind of correction, I don't know. I don't think I've really been the same since. And just, I feel like a lot of this journey of the growth and the expansion of the business has just been a process of learning to just lay down the burden of like, hey, this isn't really mine. And, I'm here to just serve and love the people around me. And so, it's been really cool to, work in a capacity where I feel like I wouldn't say I don't strive. I definitely think there are times that I do, but I just much less. And the Lord has really kind of taken that burden off of me. And yeah, it's been a joy, and it was a breakthrough that I really needed.
When I started saying the simple prayer, and every morning I said, God, give me the time I need to get everything done that I need to get done today. It emboldened my faith when I said that, because everything that I did from 8 to 5:30, I knew that I was done.
Yeah.
That was I have faith that everything that I was able to do in that time frame was everything I needed to do
Yeah.
today, and I can leave everything else for tomorrow. But that was hard because owning a business or running a business, you're always constantly thinking about
Yeah.
what's the next problem, how do I solve this, and how
Yeah.
do I get from here to there, and it's hard to turn off.
Yeah.
uh, I'm sure you have plenty of testimonies or examples of how you've personally partnered with the Holy Spirit in leading NuWave. Do you have any examples of listening to
Yeah, for
leading
sure.
and
Well, and I think, yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot of lots of little examples, of just being sensitive throughout the day and just trying to stay available and know, to those promptings. And but one story, the main story that kind of comes to mind is I'd been in this. I guess it would have been. I'm trying to think back to dates now, but I think it would have been right before I moved to Bagosa. I was walking around my neighborhood one morning, and it was kind of one of those clear as a bell. I kind of have a routine. I walk around my neighborhood and pray. And anyway, one morning, I felt like the Lord told me to call this one person specifically. It's Jason Dixon, who's president of the company and has helped us grow a ton. And so anyway, he actually worked for a company, the previous company I'd been at. We were never there at the same time, and I had never really recruited anyone from over there. Just kind of tried to keep my distance from that, not to step on toes. And so it was kind of I'd only met him once for like a few minutes. And but yeah, one morning it was like, hey, call Jason Dixon. I'm like, why would I call him? I'm not going to recruit him. And so it was like every day for 2 weeks. I mean, it's like I cannot escape. Like, call him, call him, call him. And so finally, I did. And I just reached out to him, and I was like, hey, this may sound crazy. I don't know you from Adam, but I really feel like the Lord has been telling me to call you, and I don't know what's going on with your business. If you're perfectly happy where you are, then just this probably isn't God. But I feel like you're supposed to come over here and help me build this business. And so he was like, man, this is crazy, because I put in my 2 weeks notice, and I'm supposed to go to Fairway Mortgage, and I don't feel right about it, and haven't really known why. And so I've just been asking God to stop me in my tracks if I'm going in the wrong direction. And so it was a pretty crazy, I mean, I was like kind of shocked, and it was kind of exciting, but we had to test that. The Lord needed to speak to him. So we stayed in contact for quite a while and just kind of tested things, but he got pretty clear confirmation. And so he actually, yeah, so he joined us almost a year from that point. So we really tested that and tested everything together. And so he's been a huge, I mean, just a great partner, a great, leader. He's been in the business a long time and has strengths that I don't have. And so it's pretty key thing for the company, and was really cool how God orchestrated that.
so you just heard. Did you know him? Or is this
Yeah, I'd
something
met him
you
once for like 2 minutes.
and
So I
you
thought he
just
might think
felt,
I was crazy. I was like, this is crazy. I can't believe I'm doing this. But
huh?
yeah.
Yeah. So
But I
you
literally heard, and I don't normally hear things that clearly. I'll have like an impression from the Lord, but this was like clear as a bell, specific name, and I was like, okay, and I couldn't shake it.
So how long ago was that again?
I think that would have been. My dates are getting fuzzy here. It was probably six. It was probably that phone call would have been about. It was the week I moved up here that I had that call with him. So I've been in Pagosa since July of 22. So that would have been 4 years ago.
Okay.
So
And
he's
since
really the only
then,
person
it's
I've
been the
ever
right
called and
decision.
asked to come here. Do what?
And since then, it's the right decision. I mean,
Yeah, it's been great.
he
So
That's amazing. That's amazing that the Lord is so wants to be so intimate in our even our businesses that He's going to even direct us into who we are going to hire.
Yeah.
To the point that He puts it on your heart and puts it on their heart virtually at the same time. I mean,
Yeah.
if I prayed for a clear stop me in my tracks and some random guy called me and said, "Come work for me,"
Yeah.
that's a pretty good stop me in my tracks.
Yeah. Yeah,
First,
and that's funny because that's kind of how he took it at first. He's like, I don't know if this guy's crazy, but this definitely is going to stop me from making any moves. So he,
yeah,
kind of went back to the place he had been at and just didn't do anything for a little bit.
that's a great testimony.
Yeah.
Uh, Do you, I'm sure you have I'm sure you have a few more testimonies, or do you have a
As far as listening, you said?
yeah you want to share?
Yeah, let me think of some others. I can think of another recent one, and this is actually kind of like the opposite. And this was kind of one of the nice things about having, someone that I'm bouncing stuff off of because we can kind of come into unison on things. But we recently had a guy that was interested in joining us, a very large producer, kind of one of those things where you'd be crazy not to hire him. And he's not he's a good guy. This guy's a believer, and we had a lot in common. And I thought for sure this was the Lord potentially
Hmm.
leading the guy here. And so anyway, I met with him. He actually was in Colorado, and so we got to spend some time together. And it was just the weirdest thing. I just had a major like a no, like don't hire him. And I liked him, and I couldn't, but it was just like a very strong kind of like this is not the right place for him. And so anyway, I talked to Jason later
Did
that
you
day, and I was like,
argue?
man, this is
Did you argue with the Lord at that point? Say, hey, this guy's a really good. He's a big producer.
yeah, oh yeah, trust it.
Did you
Yeah,
know
lots of
that?
arguing. I argued with the Lord about calling Jason, arguing with him over this guy was worth. I mean, this guy would have been a great hire. And so, but man, I just could not. I didn't have peace about it. And I called Jason. I was like, man, I don't know. I'm having a pretty strong feeling like this is a no. And he had actually met with him, and we didn't really share a whole lot. But he was like, man, I felt the same thing. And so I was really nervous about calling this guy because it seemed like such a it's just kind of a hard conversation to have. Luckily, he was also a believer. And so I called him the next morning and I was like, man, I've really enjoyed our time yesterday, but I was like, I just got to be honest with you. I don't think this is going to be the right fit or the right place for you. And I don't know why, because it seems crazy to tell somebody as successful as you not to join our team. And he said, man, he said, I felt the same thing. And I felt like the Lord made it super clear to me. And I was telling all my friends, I love these guys, seems like a great opportunity, but he was getting the same, kind of the same message. So, it's just cool how I feel like, when we're obedient to those promptings, how like God is moving in other people, right? He was telling him the same thing. And so I just gave him confirmation, and he was looking at something else. And, and so that was kind of an answer for him. So it was
Yeah, I just want to
kind of
highlight
cool.
that's wisdom. That's a mindset that we have to learn, and it's a being able to hear from number one, be able to hear from the Lord, but also be able to recognize that even though it's a good thing, it might not be the thing for me, or it might
Yeah.
not be a thing for me now. I had a similar experience recently to where I was exploring doing one thing, and this thing, it ticked all the boxes. I knew
Yeah.
I
I
could
think I
do
know
it.
I think you shared this with me.
I knew
Yeah.
I could do it. I knew I enjoyed the program. It it fit really well with my personality. It just everything seemed good, but I just felt like the Lord said it it wasn't the thing. It wasn't
Yeah.
the I didn't feel a yes behind it. And so
Yeah.
um and and this is where we can take from in business, we can be listening to the Holy Spirit, and he can be directing and guiding our steps in everything. I think he wants to, even in every business deal. I think it's very easy to get caught up in the sale, or in
Yeah.
the in the drive to do more or gain more business. And I think
Yeah.
that is that my next segue is one of the temptations as a business owner. We can get easily just sucked into the drive to succeed, and our measurement is our bank account. For me, since we had a warehouse, I would walk the warehouse daily, and if the warehouse was full of packages being shipped out, I got excited. I was proud, and I was like, "All right, we sold a lot
Yeah.
today." But then, if I walked the warehouse at the end of the day and there wasn't a lot of packages, a sense of fear or concern came.
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh man, what are we doing wrong? What do I need to fix? How do I need to motivate the sales team?" All these things.
Yeah.
But staying on focused on the priorities is number one. And for you, how do you just stay focused on priorities and not kind of get swayed back and forth from these swings and sales? I'm sure every
Yeah.
business has a swing and sale.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I would say, I'd kind of come back to, it's like, for me, a lot of it is like, hey, don't strive. Like, that's just a constant thing that I have to be aware of, that I have a propensity towards. And so a lot of it's just that surrender daily of like, God, this is your business. And, the number one thing the Lord tells us not to do is be afraid. And so, as I kind of lay things down, or cares, worries, as I dump that burden, it frees me from fear. And and um and I think that allows, first thing is, if you're not afraid, you don't have to self promote, you don't have to manipulate, you don't have to cover. You really can be about the people that are around you. And so fear tends to cause you to self protect and and not operate, first and foremost for the people that are you're called to serve and love. And so I would say that's probably the main thing that, for me, that I try to do is, not worry. God is going to provide. This is His business. He told me it was going to grow, and it seems like that's happening. And it's been kind of crazy to watch, and it's been, and I think, just kind of watching this happen, it's almost like, man, you would be an idiot not to trust him at this point. And so, but there's definitely times, man, we had just different things come up in the business, and it's easy to get caught up in worry or fear. And just I have to. It's kind of like a daily thing. And I ran lead numbers the other day. I still run the reports. I still look at them, and our leads were down. And so that's my first knee jerk reaction is, oh crap, what do we need? We need to go get after it, right? And sometimes you do need to get after it, but I think just in general, the main focus and the thing that I want our company to be about is really being, having other people's best interest in mind all the time. And if we
Mm.
can do that internally for all the people here, so that means between staff members and loan officer to loan officer, or processor to loan officer, or whatever, just having other people's best interest in mind. Like, I just hired a guy that just started this week, and I have this conversation with almost every single person that comes here, is like, hey, I am for you no matter what. And if that means you don't need to be here, another opportunity comes around, I'm going to be excited for you, you know? And,
And
so
that's for
just
your
kind of
staff.
keep that open door, especially like for the loan officers. I always tell them, I'm like, I'm on your team, and I hope this is the place you'll be forever. But if it's not, I just want you to know I'm going to help you get where you need to be. And I think if we can keep that, if I'm worried about making money, then I'm going to be tempted to kind of manipulate that person to stay, or to hire the guy because of his loan volume versus culture fit. Or, even with just clients, because I still originate loans. I was talking to a lady couple days ago that's moving here from a little town in Texas, and just the sweetest person. I got to spend, and I still love meeting with clients. And anyway, she's just so excited. They're going to retire here. And so I was talking to her, getting a picture of her finances, and she had a pretty good amount of money at a bank called UBS. And I know that sometimes that bank gives really competitive deals to their people to not have, so that they won't work anywhere else. And so I just told her, I said, hey, I think the program I have is actually going to be a perfect fit for you, but I still want you to double check with your bank, because I just know sometimes they'll give you borderline free money, and you need to know if that's available to you. And so, if I'm worried about making my monthly income, and, I wouldn't share that with her, but of course she appreciated that. And so anyway, so, I think in general, like, just staying free from fear and is one of the most important things to be able to just love others well.
I was just talking about this with a friend of mine. I had lunch today, and I was sharing a similar story where, because we are a warehouse business and we wanted to have reoccurring business from our customers or clients, and they were businesses that made money off of our products and services that we sold. My mentality was, if they can be successful, then I'll be successful. I don't
Mm-hmm.
need to focus on my success. I need to focus on, is my service, is my product, is everything getting there appropriately, and can they make money? Is because the more that they make, the more
Mm-hmm.
it will come back to me anyways. I don't have to worry about it. As I was talking to him about that, he was sharing how discipleship, that's his passion, is for discipleship, and it's all about the people. And I love how you brought up, it's all about the people. It's people first, and focusing on the people, because that's the
Mm-hmm.
heart of Jesus. His great commission is, go and make disciples, go
Yeah.
and pour into people, and train the next generation. And that's kind of leads me into the next question, is how do you train the next train your staff and train the next generation? How do you view mentorship at NuWave?
And that's a great question. I think, as far as so a couple different things. So I think a big part of what I'm trying, we try to do is, um, as far as training, and I'm just thinking right now, my brain went immediately to sales, right? Because we just had someone that's kind of switching within the company over to sales. So the first thing that I'm really working on as far as coaching goes with her is identity.
Hmm.
I'm really trying to help her understand, and I don't know if this is answering your question or not, but helping her understand, like, how did God create her, and what is kind of the thing that the ways he's gifted her, and what does she bring into the room when she walks into the room, because God has uniquely created her, and there's things about her that the rest of the world needs. And so kind of helping her connect with um, what that is for her and how that works in her business, and as she's trying to go build relationships. So that's like weekly coaching, and I gave her some books to read, and then I'm meeting with her on a regular basis, and helping her overcome fears. And sales can be scary, because how are they going to react, what are they going to think about, you can become very self-conscious. And so I'm trying to help her kind of move past that, and understand, hey, no, like, God made you in a unique way. And, like, it's fine. I've worked with this person for a long time. I think they're great. I have no doubt that they're going to be successful. But helping people really, figure out who, like, the role that they're made for. And sometimes we'll hire somebody, right, and it's not the best job fit. And I have multiple examples of this, but they care. And so if I have someone that cares about cares about other people, cares about their job. Just finding people that care is so important. And then it's a matter of, finding the best, how did God wire this person? How did he make them? And finding the right role for him within the company. So we just had another person on the ops side. We had him in a role that was really not the best fit for them and was causing a lot of anxiety and stress. But man, we moved them into a different role, and it has been amazing. And that's the thing. I could tell this person really cared about their work, and we just had them in the wrong spot. So finding the right spot for people a lot of times is as important as training, because I feel like once you get them in the right seat, the training goes pretty quick. The practicals of, hey, I need you to move this widget from here to there. Once you get them in the right seat, I feel like that part's pretty easy.
That's good. One of the aspects that I've been chewing on a lot lately has been on our mindset, and how a lot of our obviously our actions are based on our current mindset and the way we think, and it's retraining our mind to think towards, if we're talking about kingdom culture or any of those things, it starts with the mindset. And so I just want to encourage you that even with your leadership, and just talking to you right now, just seeing the and hearing about your leadership is changing people's mindsets just by you doing things differently, doing things from a kingdom perspective. So I just want to thank you and encourage you to say you're even just your focus on the kingdom is translating and is making a difference in the way people are thinking, and it's changing, will change their trajectory in life just by what they're seeing you do. So I want to land the plane. And do you have any new projects at NuWave that you're excited about to share? Anything that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, we are working on some, we've had a lot of growth. Like I said, I had, kind of a background in doing some software stuff a while back ago, and really had kind of not focused on that for the last couple years, but started feeling like, hey, we really need to ramp that back up. So I actually hired a young guy from Tesla. He started a week ago. And so we are doing like a deep dive back into kind of rebuilding a lot of the stuff that I've built before, but it'll be a lot better. And really just exploring, man, what are the possibilities right now with AI, all that it can do. So I've got pretty clear vision, I feel like, for how it needs to work and how we can use it. And really, one of the hardest things to do is find great people, and if it really is, I think one of the most defining things about any organization is the people that are there. And so, I told my team it's like really hard for me to go find another Deanna or Kristen or Tawana or Kevin or Jamie. We have so many great people here. It's and they care, and that's what really differentiates them so much. From just a standard employee that's checking a box. Having people that care is amazing. And so, I told all of them, I was like, I'd much rather be able to expand what we can do with our current team, is the capacity we have using technology, so that I don't, it makes it easier. So I don't have to go try to find another DN out there, because they're hard to find. They don't grow on trees. And so if I can, double the capacity, increase the income of, our people, and then at the same time probably save us some money per file, that's kind of the new vision, and just really create an amazing experience for the client. I've got some ideas that I think are going to be somewhat transformational in the way that we approach the business. So I'm really excited to see where it goes and what's possible. And this 19-year-old guy that I hired he's a brilliant young guy. I think he's got all the potential in the world. And so I had to fight Tesla for him
I
a
know.
little
Don't tell
bit.
Elon. I was thinking.
So
Wow.
I tried to hire him, and then they like upped the ante, and so I had to really step up to the plate. But I really feel like he's going to help us jump into some really cool stuff over the next 6 months.
That's exciting. I'm excited to hear. Now, if someone wants to engage with NuWave, where do they find more information, and how do they get a loan from you guys
Yeah,
or
so
a
that's a great
mortgage?
question. So, I still do loans. They can reach out to me. So they can go to newwavelending.com and all our contacts info's on there. But they can reach out to me and they can see one of our loan officers on there if there's somebody they'd like to work with. But yeah, we're available. Newwavelending.com, and that's NUWAVE lending.com. Yeah, just go to our website. You can find us there.
So cool. I appreciate your time, Jerry,
Yeah.
and excited to see where NuWave is headed in the future.
All right. Thanks, man.